Welcome to 10-minute wine time live. I'm sorry that there was a bit of problems, but it seems like it canceled my live today, and yesterday I couldn't get on. So anyway, I wanted to speak about Valdarno di Sopra today, which is an area, a wine area between Florence and Arezzo. If you know perhaps where Il Borro is, it's more or less in the same area. I will write it down here. Valdarno di Sopra, DOC. So it's a DOC denomination that was created as late as in 2011, but it is actually a viticultural area that has dates to ancient times. Even the old Etruscans were growing grapes and making wine in that area. And then also Pliny the Elder mentioned the area in his Naturalis Historia for being an area suitable for viticulture and winemaking. Then in 1716, when Cosimo di Medici issued a decree where he delineated the areas in Tuscany suitable for winemaking, Valdarno was actually one of these areas, together with Chianti, Pomino and Rufina, and Carmignano. So it's actually a wine area with a lot of tradition, a lot of history. But then during the 20th century, it kind of fell into oblivion a bit, or it became a more hidden area, not as appreciated as other areas such as Bolgheri or Montalcino or Chianti Classico. But today I actually visited a winery there, Fattoria Bello Sguardo, that I know since some years back. I also visited them when they decided to restart their winery because Riccardo Gagliardi, who is the owner, together with his son and his family, he had decided that he didn't want to continue making wine, so his father or his grandfather, I can't remember, closed it down, I think in the 70s or 80s. But then 5-6 years ago or a bit more, they decided to start making wine again. So they're located just like 10 minutes from Arezzo, Castiglione Fibocchi. And they're making, well, mainly Sangiovese. They're still starting out, so they started with one enologist, and then they changed, I think, a year or two ago. So now they're kind of trying to find their way. Their idea is to make fresh and drinkable wines that still have the structure and the complexity of the Sangiovese in that area. So Sangiovese is actually also the grape number one in the Valdarno area. It has been grown there since a long time, and Riccardo, he says that he thinks that Sangiovese is different and has different characteristics in the Valdarno area, which is can be understandable because they have their own microclimate. He thinks that the typical characteristics and notes of the Sangiovese becomes more intense in the Valdarno area, and to a certain degree he might be right. At Fattoria di Bello Sguardo, the vineyards are at around 300 meters of altitude. They also have a small lake, which helps for the diurnal range. So the temperature during the night becomes a bit cooler, which is of course very good for the grapes and for the vines. He also says that it's always windy there, so which is also good for viticulture. The soil is mainly clay, calcareous clay. So apart from the Sangiovese, let's go back to the white wine. They also make the Trebbiano Toscano that they do a bit of maceration, and they also do 6 months of maturation in tonneau. I think it's Slavonian Artisanal, to have as little influence as possible on the wine. And I must say it's a very enjoyable wine. The Trebbiano becomes fairly quite complex and aromatic. So it's definitely a wine that you should try if you can if you're in Tuscany or if you pass by the area where they have their winery. They're very tiny wineries so far, so they don't produce that many bottles, and they're still trying to, as I said, find their way and also start to become stable vintage from vintage. The pandemic slowed them down a lot. They now also have agritourism, sort of B&B, which is quite rural, but it's very kind of picturesque with a view of the lake in front of it and the vineyards next to the lake. Another interesting thing is that they also have started to make a monovarietal foglia tonda. So foglia tonda is this grape that I actually went to a seminar about this grape at the Cinelli Colombini winery in Valdorcias a couple of years ago, just before the pandemic. She has been planting quite uh, a, a lot of foglia tonda, and there are a couple of wineries who do them monovarietal now. Some in Maremma, some in the Valdarno, some in some other areas. I read about research. They told us about the research they had done, that it ought to be an ancient grape uh, from the Siena area. It's a grape that is very actually resistant to downy mildew and botrytis, so it would have been perfect to grow this year when most producers in Italy have been attacked by the downy mildew. It is a very interesting grape, and it gives wines that are it gives a bit of structure and so forth. And uh, let's see here. Just give me a second. I had written it down. The foglia tonda. Yeah, it gives wines with a certain body. Typical notes are also both floral and fruity. Also a bit of spices, and just as the Sangiovese, it also have a kind of the violet or the mamola side. And I must say, it's very enjoyable. Riccardo compared it a bit to the kind of freshness and elegance of a Pinot Noir, and also because in the beginning in their wines, which is called Pipillo, you felt a lot the spices, the pepper, the cinnamon, and then the fruit came out after a while. But if we go back to talk about the vineyards by the lake, they have actually, since they also have a winery in Armenia, because Riccardo, I think for 2 decades, has been organizing hunting trips or hunting tours to Armenia. And just before the pandemic, they also decided to set up a small winery in Armenia. He says that this year they haven't produced anything due to the conflicts and the war, of course, both in Ukraine but also in Armenia, and it's difficult to. So they have the winery full of wine, so but they can't transport it or sell it because due to the problems with the conflicts in the world right now. But he has planted also Bustiat and Areni, which are 2 Armenian grapes just next to his lake. So I think Areni could be compared also to the structure of a Pinot Noir. He claims that it would be the parent of the Pinot Noir, but there's no proof of that. So and not that Bustiat would be the parent of Chardonnay. I haven't found any proof of that either. I think it's rather that they are said to be similar to those grapes, to the Chardonnay and to the Pinot Noir. So I'm very excited to be able to taste these wines when the vineyards will be ready to produce. And as said, it's I mean, they have an agritourism. There is also a small countryside restaurant that they have kind of set up just by the agritourism. So if you want to visit and if you feel like having a rural holiday, then it's a perfect place. And there's really a nice view, and it's very calm, very relaxing, and you can taste their wines. I like these kind of experiences where they're actually trying to how do you say, to structure themselves and to decide which direction they're going to go. And the son Nicolas, who is actually the one who is very passionate about this and wanted to start making wine. He told me that the kind of wines they're making now with the new enologist is actually the style that he really likes and he wants to pursue. So if you're interested to learn more about the Valdarno di Sopra area, you can contact me in a comment below, or you can sign up for my newsletter, and I will drop the link also in the comments below. Also remember that if you come to Tuscany and you want kind of dedicated wine tour selected by me, you can contact me too. And I hope you enjoy this short Valdarno di Sopra overview. And with the Fattoria di Bello Sguardo, I will drop all links in the comments below, and feel free to reach out to me. Have a great evening. Ciao.